I'm a registered nurse for people with learning disabilities, and I did the MSc in Applied Behaviour Analysis at Cardiff University. It's Water Applied Behaviour Analysis. As I was doing the course at Cardiff was when this all began, really. So, social media is everywhere. It's part of everyday life. I'm sure we all engage with social media in some way or another. Maggie was presenting yesterday about some of the challenges with social media, in that ABA has a bad name and we get lots of critics of it. We have lots of critics of positive behaviour support as well. For those on social media, you may see things like the Justice for LB project, and Mark Neary, he speaks very eloquently about receiving positive behaviour support services for his son and how rubbish they were. And I think the challenge we've got is that people are, as we've said several times, people are saying that they're doing positive behaviour support, but they're not doing positive behaviour support, and that's giving it a bad name. And you can't say to parents that what they've received hasn't been a bad service, because it obviously has. But what we need to say is, actually, we don't agree, and we think that the standards that are set aren't good enough, and we think we should do better. So, social media is very reinforcing as well. If you get liked and get retweeted and get lots of praises like that, it can be rewarding for people who are having those arguments. If we engage in those arguments with them, we'll fuel their arguments. We won't win those arguments. We'll just keep arguing. What we need to try and do is to make sure that there's lots of positive information out there about what positive behaviour support is. So just some examples there of what social media is. So back in 2010, I was doing the MSc at Cardiff, and was speaking to my employers at the time, saying I want to start doing a PBS network locally. There's one happening in Avon, and that's going really well. There's one going in Kent, and there was just examples of it happening in other parts of the country. But my employers weren't very keen. They saw PBS as being a brand and something that was marketing something. So I said, right, okay, well, I'm going to do something in my own time then. I'm going to start a Facebook page. And I don't know if you've got some policies and processes at your work. I had to fill out a declaration of interest. I had to write a real close explanation about what I was doing. It had to be scrutinised by the board. It was quite a lengthy process I went through, and it got quite a lot of criticism. But we started it, and it started off with a page called Safe UK Positive Behaviour Support Network, and it was started off with me posting a few bits, like weekly tips about positive behaviour support, and then we had some like-minded people join in, and then we started talking about what next. We were admiring the work of other professional groups. There was a group called #LDNurseChat that's changed now to #WeLDNurses, and learning disability nurses, very similar to behaviour analysts, very small in numbers, very dispersed across the country, and no real networks. And they've just the learning disability nurse chat formed a real community, and it's a way of supporting each other by having regular chats on Twitter and by sharing information by social media. Met like-minded people, and we agreed that actually the format of the original page wasn't very interactive, so we decided to set up a group page, and we decided to have monthly chats on Twitter as well with the #PBSChat. At this moment in time, we've now got over 3,000 members, so we're huge, and those members are really mixed in variety. They're international. We've got people from all over the world who are part of the network. We've got behaviour analysts, we've got psychologists, we've got nurses, we've got direct carers, we've got family members, so we've got everyone, and that is something that is a real value of the network. I'm sure when you're talking to your colleagues, you'll use a different language and different words that you would use to describe things when you're talking to a family member. And what we're able to do is we're able to have those geeky conversations, and then we're able to explain in detail to the parents if they ask questions about what each bit means. That works really well on the Facebook page. It can be a challenge on Twitter within 140 characters. Get quite frustrating. And yeah, so I think some of the family members find Twitter harder than Facebook to interact with. We're unaffiliated, so we're not we're not owned by anyone, we're not sponsored by anyone, and that means basically we can say what we like, and we can be quite open and quite critical and openly explore things. Obviously, we have to be aware that we are all employed by professional bodies. We will be representing some agency of some sort, and that there are people we could offend. It's hard when there's news stories, for example, that are discussing tragedies that have happened in organisations, to comment on them, but not to be slanderous to those organisations. It's very engaging. A couple of weeks back I was trying to do a Sunday shout out, and I was just posting thank yous to all the people who had either posted on the page or commented, and there was over 50 people each time. It was just taking me too long. So it's just really, really interactive, and everyone gets involved. Everyone feels like they can post things on the page and comment and get involved in the chats. And the Twitter chats themselves, I'm not sure if you've taken part, but they happen once a month. We usually set them at 8:30, which can be a challenge for international people. It's 5:30 for Sharon Paley, who joins in with us in Australia. But yeah, they're very pacey, and it can be really interactive. You can feel very engaged and like having a real life conversation with people, but it can also be very quick and lots of threads, and it can be quite difficult to follow. With Current, anything that's new gets whacked up onto the page, and it's accessible, so you can get it on your phone or while you're at work. You can do it anywhere. But we have a bit of a dichotomy. Positive behaviour support is an application of applied behaviour analysis. We know that in the UK we've had issues with psychology training not covering ABA adequately in their training, and nurse training not covering adequately either. There not being a lot of behaviour analysts available. So it's kind of the ABA side of it has been neglected. And we've got the challenge of pushing forward the message that it's an application of applied behaviour analysis, and that you need qualified professionals to oversee this work, but also that it's something that should be done by everyone. And that can be a hard message to get across, to say, look, you need this as a standard, but it's okay because you can do it too. Right, so the challenges we have is defining positive behaviour support. There isn't agreement about what positive behaviour support is in the UK. We get lots of, it's about being nice to people. A very reputable organisation recently did a course on happiness as an intervention for positive behaviour support, and you see things like, it just makes you want to cry. There's lots of those kind of, maybe it's about responding positively to challenging behaviour. Maybe it's positive behavioural support, which is a bugbear of ours. It's positive behaviour support is an application of applied behaviour analysis. The word positive in applied behaviour analysis means adding to. So what we're looking at, we're adding behaviours to a person's repertoire, and we're supporting people to do that. And that's what positive behaviour support is about. It's a constructive approach. When we start to give positive values, it loses its meaning.